Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
Carrying on with our videos about the
Greek army.
We're now moving on to Persians, because we haven't done any Persian videos for a bit, and this is our newest Persian unit. It's a unit of Persian Hoplites. So during the period that we're gaming, the Persians employed hoplites who were mostly people from the Greek bit of Ionia, and most of them will probably have been Greeks, and they donned hoplite armour because they were Greek and they fought in hoplite order. However, if we use them for later periods, you could also use them for immortals, because the immortals by the end were wearing effectively Greek armour and used Greek equipment. Yeah?
Yep.
The only real difference between normal hoplites and these guys is that the Persian hoplites tended to have the not the dory, but the asti.
That's not a real word.
I think it was called an asti, which is basically a long staff. It's the same as a dory. It's about 2 feet shorter than a dory, so you don't have the reach, but the end has a copper mace, basically. So on one hand you have the tip of the blade, which you can use as a spear, just like a normal dory, but the opposite side is weighted and it's got this sort of ball mace on the end of it. Generally they were the shape of fruit. So you'd have different shaped fruits on the end of your staff, just here. The immortals used apples. Don't know why, they just thought it was cool.
Well, apples do look kind of cool.
Yeah, so they were apples. And the idea really was, first of all, it was a counterweight, so as you're thrusting forwards you've got a counterweight to the rear of where you're gripping it. But also, if your spear gets broken, you then actually use it as a mace and you can just batter people with it, because it was basically a mace head.
If it's a long battle, they get one of their 5 a day.
I don't think you can eat it because it's made of metal. Some of them were lead with a copper surrounding, some of them were just lead, and some of them, for the more richer troops, were copper. Yeah. They may have also used iron as well, I'm not really sure. I've only seen copper ones. And I've seen one that's a sort of copper over the top, where you can see the copper's wearing through. They're waiting for your input, you're just staring blankly.
I don't want to answer to that, do I?
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's the first army I've ever heard of using apples or other pears or something on the end of a spear. It
was just a shape. It was just a shape they used. Probably each regiment had its own type of fruit. Like there'd be the banana regiment and the grapefruit regiment and the pear regiment, and these guys were the apple regiment. So they could be used as later Persian immortals, but at the moment we're using them just as regular Persian hoplites, because of the period we're playing the Greek or Persian, the first and second Greek or Persian war. So for both those, the immortals tended to wear immortal kit, which they also had the same sort of armour underneath and stuff, but they tended to wear cloaks over it so they could hide their armour. We've already done a video on the Persian, on the immortals. We've got one more immortal video to do, I think. But we've already more or less covered most of that. But the leather armour that the Greeks used was pretty common for the Persians to use, for the decent Persian troops to use. So it wouldn't be that unusual to see Persian troops wearing Greek armour. Roughly the same design.
You might get a funny look.
Yeah, possibly. Their armour is painted red, as you can see here, and I've actually painted them as apple pickers, later Persian immortals. But that's because I just thought they look cool. So yeah, they're carrying the Persian spear, which is the spear with a ball on the end. They also have the Sagaris, which is a Persian axe, which was their close combat weapon. They didn't really go in for swords; they preferred axes. So did the Athenians. The coppice is an axe, not a sword. People call it a sword because it vaguely looks like a sword. It's actually an axe. So axes were quite common. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because if you're going up against troops with armour, axes are pretty good weapons, because you can use it to batter and you can also use it to hack, so you can hack away at arms and legs while you're fighting. The troops in game terms are experienced, because I'm not using them as mortals, even though I painted them as mortals. But if they were immortals, they would have all the bonuses for being immortals. So, any questions?
Yeah, why do they have a golden eagle on the shield?
That is the Persian phoenix.
Oh yeah, that's what Xerxes and all them.
Yes, that's what. Yeah,
that's their symbol.
Yes. So they have the golden bird on their shield. And the shield is purple because I painted them as immortals, and later immortals used purple because purple was expensive. So it was a way of going, look how expensive my shield is, I must be really good.
Or I could have just got some red stuff and got some blue stuff and rubbed them together, created purple.
Yeah, which doesn't actually last in the sun. It's not the easiest way of making purple. Purple.
You can con someone.
Purple paint is easier to make than purple dye. Purple dye is really hard to make. That comes from seashells.
Just get some purple paint and paint your shield purple.
Yeah, you couldn't nip down to B&Q back then. You couldn't nip down to your local hardware store. You had to go. Let's think.
Well, then get some red, some sort of solvent.
Was it the
Get some wet clay, rub it in. You get some blue clay, rub it in, rub them together. There you go. Happy times.
Okay, yeah, you could do that. But generally, the paint was quite expensive, and purple looks cool anyway. So it's a cool colour. So, any more questions?
Yeah, I didn't know Mortals had that single flag where they get that regiment did well. I thought Mortals didn't.
Yes, because I'm not using them as immortals.
Oh, right. Yeah.
No, immortals didn't. Later immortals were more regimentised. Earlier immortals, even though there were different regiments of immortals, on the battlefield they looked identical. Depending on which campaign you're fighting, we don't know a huge amount about immortal colours, because most of the paintings we've seen of immortals and the depictions of them are from pre this period that we're playing and post this period that we're playing, and a lot of the immortals are not wearing combat gear. They're on dressed guard. So think of Star Wars, the red stormtroopers, the guys with the staffs.
Emperor's Guard.
Yeah, they're proper soldiers, but they're not wearing proper kit. They're wearing ceremonial kit that isn't that much use in combat, because all they do is stand there on guard. So a lot of the depictions of the immortals is them doing parades and things like that, not actually in combat. In combat, they would be kitted out like this.
Jedi.
No, later they are. They was. Oh God, you're getting into complex stuff now. If they're the Knights of Ren, if you're also what you're talking about, that's the new films, not the old films. The old films, they were veteran troops, and stormtroopers would spend a couple of months as Imperial Guards for the palace. And then once you'd done a couple of months, you would then go back into combat, and another veteran unit would be brought in, and you would constantly turn it over. And that's how the red soldiers in the earlier films, that's where they come from. So they're actually veteran stormtroopers, but they're just wearing the red uniform on ceremony. For the new films, well, they've created some canon for it, and then they destroyed the canon, and then they created some more canon, and then they've thrown that out because they keep arguing over which director owns it, and they're not really sure. We don't know what anything is. They could just be guys wearing red uniforms for a laugh. But originally, under Abrams, the idea was the Red Guard were basically the Knights of Ren. So they were effectively brain dead, and they were controlled by Snoke. Just like Darth Plagueis did. He had sort of brain dead Jedi who he could put his Force Ghost into to control.
I mean Darth Plagueis.
That's him.
The one who taught the Emperor.
Yes, that's the guy.
And then the Emperor murdered him in sleep.
Yeah, that happens. You should have seen it coming, really. I'm going to tell my apprentice everything, then he's going to murder me. Yeah, definitely.
And then the Emperor trains Darth Vader everything, and he murders him.
Oh, they murders him. Yes, that's what happens. It's terrible, isn't it? That's sorry. Why have we got into Star Wars?
It's happened.
Yeah, which is why the fight scene is cool at the end. You know where the Red Knights are fighting against
Kylo Ren and Rey.
Rey. When they're fighting each other, that's cool because if you think about it, all the Red Knights are one knight. They're all one person. Because when Snoke died, he just took over the other knights, like in the Dark Empire books, where the Emperor Palpatine simply transfers himself into a clone of himself. And then he keeps fighting Luke, and Luke keeps killing the Emperor's clones, but he just goes into another clone. And eventually he gets down to the last clone, and that's how the Emperor dies. But the Knights of Ren, that's theoretically what's happening there. You are actually fighting multiple versions of Snoke at the same time, and he controls all of them. Meaning that Rey and Kylo are actually really good because they're able to fight Snoke. But they do doesn't Kylo get wounded during that battle? I think Rey gets hit as well, doesn't she? She gets wounded as well.
I only watched it once.
I watched it a few times, it's quite good. I've also watched the fan edit one where they have Snoke's voice over the top, which makes the scene look a lot more cooler because Snoke dies and then he just, after he's dead, his
the only
voice
reason
laughs.
I'm talking about this movie is because that's the only favourite bit you have.
Yeah, that's my favourite bit of the entire movie. The stuff the rest of them are, I hate that stuff. Huge Star Wars fan, so I don't like the new film.
I think it's good that Leia could float into space. I think it's awesome.
Sorry, the best character in the new films is Finn. He's awesome. What a great idea of getting a stormtrooper who basically changes sides and becomes a rebel. What a brilliant plot. And then they just sort of go, I don't really care. We're just going to write off for this guy. We're going to do other stuff. Yeah. It's just people who don't know how to write. That's the problem.
Well, they do. They're just writing the wrong thing.
Actually, they should have sold it as a book, and if the book was popular, then make it into a film. Instead of making a film and then having to make books to explain why the film's so bad.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm not even going to tell you my Snoke theory because it's too late, he's already dead. Right. Anyway, the new film was a dream sequence and they're going to reboot the whole thing, so...
Yeah, I highly doubt that's going to actually happen.
No, they're actually pushing for it.
Apparently the new movie is going to be a year after.
Yeah, they're really pushing to basically say, well, none of that stuff really happened. It's all from someone's point of view. Yeah, it really is, isn't it? But that's what you get when
They still call it episode 9, episode 8. 9?
9.
8.
No, but 9.
9.
8's the one that ruined franchise. 9 was cool. 7 was cool.
7's Force Awakens.
Yeah, Force Awakens is a brilliant film.
But
and I know some people don't like it,
but
but it's
they call
brilliant.
Last Jedi episode 8, therefore that means it's episode 8, which means it's the next one.
Yeah, but you're also skipping Clone Wars, because technically Clone Wars is that. I mean, Rogue One is 3.5, and Solo is 3.6. If you put them in order.
3.7.5.
Yeah.
3.75.
So Clone Wars is 2.1.
No, it starts in number.
No, because then the series carries on after Clone Wars.
Yes.
So it's got a 2.1, then you have 6 now seasons of Clone Wars after that, which leads directly into the film. Anyway, we're talking about Persians. Any questions on the Persians?
No.
No? Right, sorry. Star Wars was more interesting. Anyway, I hope you like the figures anyway. The figures are just standard figures, but I've done a bit of modification. The spears are from the box set, the Dark Age box set, and the heads are just scratch built with getting a Saxon helmet and sticking clay on its head. Cutting the top off and sticking clay on to give you that effect. That's what it is. So that's it.
So if you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe and comment down below if you like the Persian Hoplites. That's it from me.
And everything from him. Goodbye.
See ya.